As has been the case the last few weeks here on the show, a gentleman who's very busy right now and graciously makes time for us normally. He is the editor-in-chief of thefourthperiod.com as well as the print magazine. You can also follow him on twitter.com/thefourthperiod. He's a Montrealer living in Toronto. I always say that, so you make sure to listen in. It is Dave Pagnotta. Hey, Dave, how you doing?
Not too bad, Matt. How about you?
Well, yesterday was tough. I'm a Bronco fan, so,
That's rough. I thought Manning was going to keep it going, but,
yeah.
It's okay. I'm a Cowboys fan. I got Romo to deal with.
Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy.
I'm very envious.
All right, fair enough. All right, let's move on. We're both bummed now. Dave, season's around the corner. Everything's getting ready to go. Canadians obviously today announced that Scott Gomez will be twiddling his thumbs on a lazy boy somewhere in Alaska this year. We explained to the listeners, of course, that if you're injured, you can't be bought out, and that's the reason that he's not even going to be playing in Hamilton. What, if anything, did you hear about this particular story as it was being announced or prior, and any repercussions? In other words, what do you think is going to happen in terms of the roster now that Gomez is out of the picture?
Well, it definitely opens up a better opportunity for a guy like, Alex Galchenyuk to make a permanent impact on the squad for the full season. I think the initial plan is, providing he doesn't falter this week, which I highly doubt, but the plan is to give him a shot at being on the club and starting the season with the Canadians. Because of the shortened season, rookie players, junior kids get a max of 5 games to prove themselves. Normally, a regular season, they'd have 9 games, but they've got 5 games before they can be sent back to their junior club, and it not counting as 1 year of their entry-level deal. And I think for the Canadians, if he plays well, he'll stick around, and not having to worry about a tighter ship certainly opens things up for him. It opens things up for other guys on the roster if they want to have a couple more defensemen. If Tenorti really makes an impact, and Commodore proves that he can be a depth defenseman, they might want to take 2 extra defensemen down the stretch too. So it gives them a lot of flexibility. I know from Gomez's camp, he was very distraught this morning. Very upset about how things kind of transpired the whole week. He was being told that he was going to be there for camp and to get ready for camp, and he's just kind of taking things to himself, trying to collect all of his emotions before talking publicly. He may not even speak publicly about the situation, but this scenario is definitely unique, and it might not be over just yet. But we'll see exactly what, and by that I mean it's in the agent's hands now, so he may have a few things he might want to deal with the organization. But you're looking at the Habs roster right now, gives them a lot more flexibility.
Yeah, certainly. I'm intrigued to see what you mean by that agent situation. Should I press you more on that, Dave, or is that coming out in the next few days?
It might. They may leave it. Put it this way: if you're let go of your job or said to stay home, we'll pay you to stay home, you can still look for another job elsewhere. Not the case here for Scott Gomez. He will not be able to. He won't be able to play overseas. He won't be given permission by the Canadians to do that. He won't be able to make other earnings elsewhere. And I get it's not like he really needs to, but nevertheless, it's going to have a big impact on him next season. He's going to get bought out. He'll be an unrestricted free agent. He'll be, he wouldn't have played for a full season, minus the 9 or 10 games he played in the ECHL to start things off or start the lockout off. It's going to be really interesting to see how this kind of transpires. Like I said, Gomez's camp may say, you know what, it is what it is. We'll bite the bullet and go from here. Because I think it's still a lot of emotions are running high, considering they found out last night. Gomez was told, or the agent side found out last night. Gomez was told this morning. So they may just say leave it, or they could press it, and it could be a whole other can of worms. But if you're the Canadians right now, you're moving forward and you're thinking about, where does Alex Galchenyuk fit?
And obviously the cap hit is a full cap hit for Gomez, even though he's not playing.
Yes, yeah. For this season, his full cap figure will count against Montreal's cap. They're lucky that it's still at $70.2 million this season, and that's one of the reasons, obviously, why They've tried to weigh all their options. But and I know people were asking, well, why don't they try to trade him and possibly trade part of his salary as part of that, or eat up some of his salary? It just, at the end of the day, Marc Bergevin and his staff just decided this was the best approach for the organization, and they'll kind of go from there.
Now, Dave, is he allowed? Obviously, he can't play, like you mentioned, for other teams. But what if he plays in a rec league somewhere, and just for fun? Is he allowed to do that? And
No.
B, well, hold on. If that scenario comes up and he breaks his leg, is he still able to be bought out by the Canadiens?
That's interesting. If he goes out and plays or does something like that, and it doesn't, if it's a rec league or something like that, and he doesn't get permission from the Canadiens, I believe the onus is on him. So the Canadiens would be justified in still buying him out. But if he's walking down the street, trips on a curb, and breaks his ankle,
yeah,
they're on the hook. So there's still
really?
obviously some other circumstances that could come about.
So hold on. So technically, he could pull a Tanya Harding, right, and get Jeff Gillooly to hit his knee, and he's hurt, but it's only temporary, right? It's only for like 3 months, right, in the summer, just enough that he'd be ready, like let's say in November. So the Canadiens wouldn't be able to buy him out, and they'd have to either tell him to stay home again, or he could play for the Canadiens again in November.
I believe so. I mean, if he's at the gym, my understanding is, yeah. I mean, if he's at the gym and he's doing squats or something and he pulls a hammy,
yeah,
it's on him. Now, I haven't looked at the whole CBA because things have obviously come into factor differently in how it would have been. Because I know there are different rules that are now set when it comes to these kinds of scenarios. And Marc Bergevin, I was told, and he may have mentioned this today, I'm not sure, but they didn't make this decision until yesterday evening because they were looking at all the fine print that was part of the CBA and part of their knowledge of this particular scenario. So they feel comfortable in that whatever happens, they should be okay for the summer, but I don't know.
All right. It'll be very interesting to see how that shakes forth. All right, before we let you go, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the latest with PK Subban.
The customary talks are ongoing quote is what I'll give you, because that's really what it is. They're going back and forth. They've exchanged a melee of different options, a shorter-term deal, a longer-term deal, different variations in terms of salary based on the length associated with this contract. I think we're going to see something done this week, in the early part of this week. Something could happen as early as tomorrow. I know Michael Del Zotto got signed today with the New York Rangers. They share the same agent. And I know I've had a chance to speak with Mark Guy, who's one of the representatives for PK Subban, and he said they're still working at it, and they obviously want to get a deal done as soon as possible. PK hasn't had a chance to play anywhere. He's just been skating. He was skating pretty hard during the lockout, but they want to get him into camp as soon as possible. But obviously it has to make sense for both parties. So their objective is to get something done as soon as possible.
He is Dave Pagnotta. For more on these NHL news and notes, check out thefourthperiod.com. You can also follow him on twitter.com/thefourthperiod. Whenever he has stuff, he usually posts it there. Dave, thanks so much. Appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
There you go.